Don't press record yet.
Okay. Sure.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us. Are you tired of losing your glasses? I know my family always makes fun of me. Do you forget important birthdays or meeting dates even, right? Where you park your car? Well, today we have Rena Yudkowsky, a memory coach from Israel. Thank you so much, Rena, for allowing me this opportunity. She empowers midlifers and actually people of all ages. I'm going to teach some of the exercises she's going to be sharing with us to my students. And, I think all of us can improve our memories no matter what age we are, so we can lead happier and less stressful lives. So, Rena.
Thank you so much, Karen, for having me. This is such a pleasure. It has been such a pleasure to meet Karen, and I love Karen's work. She just wrote a book, and she does parenting coaching, and I've already learned so much from her because, Karen, you just had 2 interviews this week, right?
Yes, it's been a busy week.
Yeah. Amazing, amazing. Getting out there with your message. Thank you. So can I just tell you a little background where I'm coming from and why I do what I'm doing?
Definitely.
Okay. So I'm a geriatric social worker and memory coach. Over the years, I've worked with people with Alzheimer's, and many years, about 20 years ago, I was the head of an Alzheimer's unit in an assisted living facility in America when I lived in America. And that was an amazing job. And then I came to Israel and I started learning more about memory. I took a memory course from a cognitive psychologist many years ago. And after that, I just was fascinated by how memory works, why memory works, and when it doesn't, and what can we do about it. So I actually did a lot of research and read books and listened to all the experts, webinars and seminars. And over the years, I've just developed my own memory improvement course. It is geared for seniors, but seniors now, I say midlifers and seniors, people in their 40s and 50s are starting to get worried about their memory. And there are a lot of reasons for that. So I teach memory improvement courses live here in Israel, and I love it. I love doing it. The seniors love it. They feel so empowered to know that there's so much they can do to help themselves. They don't just have to age into memory loss and grumpiness and loneliness, and there's so much they can do. So I'm actually putting my course online now. I'm in the process of launching it online. So at the end of the interview, I'll let you know more about that and how to reach me and if you're interested in hearing more. But we also want to connect this today to parenting and stress, because I actually wrote an article a few weeks ago about COVID and stress. The last, 9-10 weeks already, we've all been, I think, in a heightened level of stress and anxiety. Even the most easygoing people, I think, have felt stress over the past few weeks. And our children, we've been home. Most of us, I think, pretty much all over the world have been home with our kids for many weeks now. And children have different ways of expressing their anxiety. So the question is the first thing I want to talk about is, what does stress do to the brain? And how can we help ourselves and our children de-stress a bit in these times? That's the first thing we'll talk about. So first of all, stress really does impact the brain very strongly, especially chronic exposure to stress. So if you're exposed to stress for a long time and the cortisol levels in your body are very high, that is going to affect your brain. You're going to feel more unfocused. It's going to be hard to focus. It's going to actually shrink. This is long-term exposure, not just like 1 or 2 days, but it's going to shrink the hippocampus in your brain. The hippocampus is the part of your brain that's in charge of memory and learning. We do not want that shrinking. We want that growing. We want that wiring. We say cells that fire together, wire together. We want to be building more brain connections. We don't want anything shrinking or dying in our brains. So basically that's how stress, it also weakens our immune system, which we know we don't want that happening now. We want a strong immune system. So the stress affects our bodies, our brains, and stress also makes us produce more beta amyloid plaques, which accelerate aging, and we don't want to do that. At any age, we don't want to be accelerating aging. That's a little about how it impacts our focus and functioning. So how do we help our kids and ourselves de-stress? And I'm going to throw out a couple ideas. I'm sure everyone's thought about this over the past few weeks, but here are a couple ideas that are really, really helpful. And just focusing on them is helpful. So the first thing is, we know deep breathing, meditating, mindfulness, right? Sometimes it's very easy for our brains and our children's brains to go into a very worrisome place, a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, and our brains go there very fast. So keep bringing ourselves back to the present moment. And this is a question that I ask myself all the time. Right this minute, am I okay? And if right this minute I'm okay, then I don't need to think about in an hour, 2 hours, or tomorrow, or in a month. I don't know. We don't know what's going to be in a month. I mean, a month ago, we had no idea where we would be, in a month. So staying much more present. Now, staying present and mindfulness really helps us focus. I talk about this in my memory course because it brings us back to the present moment of what I'm doing right now. And if what I'm doing right now, if I can focus on that, then I'm going to remember what I'm doing. So I want to tell the funny story about how I always talk about Hawaii in my memory courses. And when Karen first contacted me from Hawaii, I started laughing because when I give memory lectures, I always use this example, and it's just, I say that oftentimes we don't remember something because we're not focused on it in the first place. Why? Because our brains are in Hawaii. I always say our brains and our bodies are not aligned. My brain is right here in my house in Israel, but my brain is in Hawaii because I'm thinking about something else. And that is the example I always give to show that our brains are not connected to our bodies. And that's why we don't remember what we're doing. So how could it be that I put my keys down and don't remember? Is that a memory problem? So I maintain that in most cases, it's not a memory issue. It's a focus issue. It's a focus issue because my hand throws my keys down on my table. My brain is thinking about what I'm making for supper, where the kids are, who I have to call, and what else I have to do today. So there's no connection between your brain and your hand throwing those keys down. So an hour, 2 hours later, you say, where are my keys? I don't know what I did with my keys. It's not a memory issue. The memory was never encoded in the first place. Encoding means getting it from short-term memory to long-term memory where it's stored. So when we don't focus on anything, of course we're not going to remember it. And that takes us also into the multitasking. We are very good at multitasking these days, especially if you're a young mom of kids, and you have little kids pulling at you in 3 different directions, and we can't focus on anything. We're doing 3 different things at once. So we used to think that multitasking was great, like you could just be so productive if you can multitask, but it's not true. It trips up our brain. And I talk about this a lot. This is the first technique I give to improve focus is stop multitasking. Now, if you're a mom of kids, you're going to say to me, but I can't. I have to take care of the 5-year-old and the 3-year-old and the 2-year-old at the same time. How can I stop multitasking? So I say it's true. It's true that there are times in your life where you can't stop multitasking. But if you're finding yourself stressed, anxious, and not remembering where you put your keys and little examples like that, you need to stop multitasking. And I do this all the time. Let's say I have 2 or 3 kids talking to me at the same time, and they all want something from me. I say to them, guys, I want to hear what each one of you have to say, but my ears can only listen to one person at a time. So I turn to one, usually the youngest, and say, what do you need? Okay, what do you want? And what do you want? And then I try to help them, but I can't listen to 3 kids at once talk to me. Our brains, our brains are very powerful and limitless even, but we actually don't do 2 things at the exact same second. It's a sequential processor. Sequential processor means we take in information and process it quickly, like in a sequence, one after another, but not at the same nanosecond. So when we're talking about improving our focus, if you stop multitasking, you'll find that you're less stressed. You can actually focus on what you're doing, which of course is going to help you remember. So going back to the example of putting my keys down on the table, if I actually look at my hand and just focus on what I'm doing without any other fancy techniques, just focus on what I'm doing, that alone is going to help you remember what you did if your brain is not in 3 other places. So it's just bringing your brain, that's the mindfulness. It's bringing your brain to where your body is. It's just being present right now, right here. And taking a deep breath. You need to do a lot. I've been doing a lot of deep breathing over the past few weeks. Because why? It gets oxygen to our brain. So automatically, getting oxygen to your brain is going to help you focus and remember what you're doing. I have a great story to tell about that. I taught this course in September, like September, October, November, in a city nearby called Beitar. It's 20 minutes away. One of the ladies in the course, she was probably one of the older ladies. She was probably in her 80s. And just this technique alone of taking a deep breath when you can't recall something, she told me she was walking with her 19-year-old grandson, and they were trying to remember the name of a neighbor, and neither of them could remember the name of the neighbor. So she took a deep breath, or maybe a couple deep breaths, and she came up with the name before her 19-year-old grandson. She came back the next class and said, guess what? I remember something before him. And she was so proud of herself. And it was no fancy technique. It was simply de-stressing, not panicking that you didn't remember something, and getting oxygen to the brain. So that's just the number one, meditating, breathing, and practicing mindfulness. So I connected that to parenting and remembering. The next thing in de-stressing is to remember to socialize. Even though we're socially distancing, and we might not have seen some of our closest family and friends for months at this point, right? We still have telephones. We still can pick up the phone and have a chat with our mother in America or my sister in Jerusalem. I can still talk on the phone. Of course, we have social media. I don't consider that real friendship, but pick up the phone, call someone that might need a hello. I've been on the phone a lot. When we started this whole COVID thing and we saw we were going to be locked in our houses, I sat down with my kids and we made a list of people that we're going to call. Someone that might be lonely, sad, or alone. There were a lot of elderly people here that were very alone over the Passover holiday that we just had a few weeks ago. We made a list of people that we were going to call to say hello, and we did that. And it's just a way that you can engage your children. It helps de-stress us. It helps someone else. And of course, we know that when we give to other people and we show compassion and kindness and reach out to other people, we feel good. And it's just such a great lesson to the kids that yes, we feel anxious and we feel stressed, but we can also think about other people. We can get out of our own anxiety and think about other people and reach out to other people. And the socializing piece of that is so good for your brain. Our brains need social stimulation. The research shows that people that stay socially active as they age, they live longer. Now, to me, that is not shocking at all. That is not shocking. We all know lonely, isolated people that they die of depression. And that's one of my concerns, One of my concerns about this whole COVID thing and with older people being so isolated and depressed. I just feel like that might be more dangerous than the virus. Because Karen, you have an elderly mother that you care for, and being alone is really, really hard for older people. And just going back, I'm going to go back and forth between older people and children. The children are really missing their friends, even though we have a family, thank God, and we're together. They have each other. They have siblings. They're missing their friends. They're really missing their friends, and we need to validate that. But what I'm saying is find ways to stay socially stimulated, even if you're not with people so much anymore. Hopefully, I don't know in Hawaii, but hopefully in Israel, we're moving. They lifted a lot of the restrictions, and everyone is starting to come out slowly in stages. There's some of the schools have started up here, but I know the adult daycare programs have not started up again. So this is a real concern. So stay socially connected. I also want to talk about exercise. No matter what age you are, I don't care if you're 10 or 90, we all need to move. And this has been a real issue lately also. We're all finding ourselves much more sedentary, right? Mm-hmm. We're in front of our computers a lot, doing Zooming, all the meetings on Zoom, and even even the social part, you could do on Zoom. Like we had a great get together with all my nieces and nephews and sisters and brothers on Zoom, and it was so much fun. That's another way to socialize. But we're finding ourselves sitting in front of the computer a lot, and that is not good for our bodies or our brains. We need to get moving. We need to be walking. We need to be jumping rope, something, whatever's appropriate for your age and your stage and your fitness level. Now, I'm going to say this in one sentence because there's so much to talk about, exercise and the brain. But in one sentence, what does exercise do for your brain? Again, at any age, what does it do? Basically, it creates more BDNF. BDNF is brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Brain-derived neurotrophic factor. In simple terms, that means that it grows brain cells. So when you exercise, you are growing brain cells. So if you stand up right now and do 10 jumping jacks, you will have more brain cells. Now, obviously, 10 jumping jacks is not enough to combat sitting all day. But you want to be growing new brain cells like we talked about before, and you do that, one of the best ways to do it is physical exercise. And then I'll also mention mental exercise. We cannot, again, no matter what age you are, not children and not adults, you cannot sit and stare at four walls all day and do nothing with your brain. You are going to atrophy. Now, obviously, children do not atrophy. Children stay naturally stimulated. Like if you watch children, Their brains naturally are busy and they naturally find things to engage in. It's amazing. It's amazing. Um, but as we get older, our brains will start to atrophy if we do not stay stimulated. Now, what does that mean? It could mean learning a new hobby. A lot of people have had more time on their hands and had the chance to start learning a new hobby. And I could give you a lot of ideas. It could be a new language. It could be a musical instrument. It could be something you've always wanted to do and never had the chance to do. So learning something new, that is the bottom line. I see the last 2 years, my grandma was happy at adult daycare, learning and exercising with. Wait, I'm just reading the comment. I didn't see the rest of it. Hold on.
Yeah, and that's just hard. A lot of my, I have an aunt who can't go to daycare, not daycare, but
Yeah.
she goes to the spa 7 days a week for 3 hours. And now if you have zero exercise, and sometimes they might not want to do, you know, jumping jacks, they want that spa, sauna, just something. Part of it is socialization, right? And part of it is the way that they get their exercise. What do you suggest to people who need that social exercise, but if they're stuck at home, is there anything they can do?
Connect with the people they know. Call friends. Get on Zoom calls with people. You know, depending on where you are and what you're allowed to do. If you're allowed to go sit outside on the bench for a few minutes just so you say hello to some neighbors, even if you're social distancing, depending, again, where you are and what the rules are, it's different all over the place now. Finding opportunities for socialization in whatever way you can do wherever you are. Absolutely, it's very, very, very important. And hopefully very soon, we'll be able to resume more socialization and all the programs. So the learning something new, the staying mentally, cognitively stimulated is very, very important as well for all ages. So there's a couple more ideas about how to de-stress, but let's leave that and move on to a little more about focus and concentration because I want to give you another couple tips. Okay, I want to talk about using your senses. I told Karen about this. So for those of you that are forgetful and you don't know where your keys are or your glasses or where you parked your car. So I actually have 4 techniques to improve our focus and attention, but we're not obviously in half hour, we can't do all of this. So here's the technique that has to do with our senses. The more senses used to encode a memory, the more likely you are going to remember it. So when you drop those keys down on the table and walk away and your brain was engaged in something else, you're not going to remember where you put it. But if you do this, when you put it down, you look at your hand. I'm looking at my hand putting the keys down. I'm listening to the sound of the keys drop on the table. And I'm saying out loud, say out loud, self-talk, I am now putting my keys on the coffee table. So 2 hours later, you say, where are my keys? Oh, yep, I heard the click. I heard the sound. I saw my hand put them on the coffee table, and I remember saying out loud, I heard myself say out loud, I am now putting the keys on the table. That is a very simple and helpful technique. You can use it for when you leave your house and you don't know if you lock the door or not. Now again, what we're doing here is we're bringing our focus to what we're doing. We're paying attention to what we're doing instead of doing things haphazardly. So we're paying attention to what we're doing. When you lock the door, this happens to a lot of people. Did I lock my door? Did I not lock my door? Take away the self-doubt. Use your senses. Look at the key. So you're being very present and mindful. You're watching your hand put the key and entering the key. You're feeling the key in your hand. You're hearing the click of the door. And you're saying out loud, I now locked my door. So you go on your way and you get to the store and you say, I don't remember if I locked my door or not. Yes, I do. I said it out loud. I heard myself say, I now locked the door. It's very helpful. Then people say, I'm worried that people are going to think I'm crazy because I'm talking to myself. I say, don't worry about that. First of all, it's better that people think you're crazy and you remember what you're doing. But really today, everyone's on their phones with earphones and Bluetooth. Everyone's talking to themselves. So I don't think you have to worry about that so much anymore. You can use this technique of using your senses as well for remembering whether you turned off the stove, which is a big issue for people. Remembering whether you made a doctor's appointment and what time that appointment is. Let's say you make an appointment and you're not near your calendar to write it down. How am I going to remember that I made that appointment? Well, I'm going to say out loud, I have a doctor's appointment on May 20th at 8 o'clock. I have other techniques to help you remember those numbers, but for now, we're using our senses. So saying it out loud. So then when you do get to your calendar to write it down, which by the way, you should do right away, I heard myself say out loud, May 20th, 8 o'clock. So this is a very simple technique that you could use for many, many things that you want to remember. Now, children can do this as well. If children say, well, Mom, how am I going to remember whether I don't know, what's the example? Whether I,
Put their homework in their backpack.
right, exactly. I was just thinking the same thing. Where I put my homework. So when the kid puts their, let's say their math book in their, I want to say tick is the Hebrew word for backpack. When they put their math book in their backpack, say aloud, I am now putting my math book in the backpack. And they might say, that's ridiculous. It might be ridiculous, but you have a much higher chance of remembering it. So this is actually a tip that you can use with all ages. And it really, really, really does help. Now, people tell me that what's helpful about this, just to begin with, is the awareness alone that it's not your memory failing, but that it's your focus and attention. Like when I teach this, I tell the ladies this week, notice when you forget something, if it was your focus, if you were not paying attention in the first place. And they always come back to me and say, yep, the awareness alone that it was my focus, that I wasn't focused to what I was, it was not a memory issue, but a focus issue, it's so empowering and freeing. Because as people get older, they're really worried. They're worried about getting dementia. And this alone can help a lot of people when we just realize it's not even a memory issue, it's focus and attention. So, okay, let's move on to the brain exercise that I want to share with you. So Karen and I did this the other day and it was really fun. And this is also something you can do at any age, and it would even be fun to do intergenerationally. Let's say, Karen, maybe your mother with your daughter could even play this little game together. And by the way, this is something you could do on Zoom if you want to Zoom with your grandmother, if your kids want to Zoom with your grandparents. You can even do this on Zoom or on the telephone because you don't even need anything to do it. So here's the exercise. And this is an out-of-the-box thinking exercise. It makes our brain think in a different way, which is creative, and we want to be doing that. We want to be making more connection to the brain. So we want to be thinking creatively. Okay, this is how we do it. We want to try to have a conversation with another person without using a certain letter. Now you could choose the letter. It could be S, it could be T, it could be a vowel. If you do a vowel, it's much harder. I'm warning you. So should we demonstrate it, Karen?
Yes. In fact, you know what? We did this as a family during dinner the other day. We did it without the letter T, and it does
How'd it go?
You really have to focus on it, but it was fun because I think we did, I think my daughter said, oh, I need wine. There was no tea. We just started laughing.
That's great. That's great. So it's trying to have a conversation with someone else without using a certain letter. Now, it really makes you focus. It really makes you think, and you could feel it. You could feel it clearing cobwebs. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's do it real fast. Okay, we'll do it without the letter T. We'll just use that example. Without the letter T. Good morning, Karen. How are you?
I'm fine. Can you come here?
I would love
Flying here.
flying. I can say two. I would love one day. I can't say two come. I would love a break and come see you. Doesn't really make too much sense. It's hard to not use the word two.
You would be welcomed.
Oh. I'm going to use a different word. Actually, the Hebrew word for thank you also has a T in it.
Oh, gosh.
Okay, how about my pleasure?
You can also use a Hawaiian word, mahalo. So
mahalo.
You can say thank you without the T, and I bet it's a great way to, for foreign languages, right?
Mahalo. Yeah, there you go.
Mahalo.
So you see how hard it is. Okay,
yeah.
You see how hard it is. So you can try doing this with any age kids, little kids, as long as they know the letters. So that's just a really fun exercise that doesn't take any other stuff. I'll just throw out other couple ideas for you. And this is also good for, I love the intergenerational, like even an older person could play these games with younger. So any strategy games that make you think, anything that makes your brain think, anything that challenges your brain is going to be good for it. So you want to use it or lose it. So it's about challenging your brain to work well. So any strategy games, any word games, things like bananagrams. If there's also a card game that has shapes in it called Set, which is quite a challenging game. So depending on if you're dealing with someone with dementia, they may not be able to do some of those games. They may be too difficult depending on the level of dementia, what stage they're at. But for the kids, for sure, any of these games are very, very good for their brain. Like before the school started doing long distance learning, we were playing a lot of games. And I kept thinking, like, are we wasting our time? And then I realized, no, this is for kids. This is what develops the brain. Forget the schoolwork. Sorry, I know that's heretical. Forget the schoolwork. Play games.
I've been doing concentration. You know, they have it online. And at first I thought too, oh my gosh, you're wasting time, but it really is fun. And it, you know, it's a great way to, right, you said, build your memory. And it could be states. I do states and capitals. There's a map and they point to, you know, where's Maryland, where's Alaska. And now there's, you know, there's ways that you can interactively do that.
That's great. Yes, anything that, basically the bottom line is anything that challenges your brain. So people ask me, are crossword puzzles good? Are Sudoku good? Yeah, it's all good if it challenges your brain. If you're really good at it and it's too easy, then it's not going to do the trick. I also prefer things with, you know, that have some social piece to it. So interaction. So if I'm playing with my kid, it's going to have this interaction piece, and the quality time is so much more than just playing a game, right? Because I'm spending time with the kid. We're both using our brains. I'm embarrassed to tell you this, but my 6-year-old can beat me at concentration. And I'm a memory coach, but she's really good at, you know, the memory cards, 72 memory cards. She is so good at that. It's so much fun to watch the little brains develop and think. They are so fresh and engaged. What can I say? But that's what we want to do. As we get older, we want to keep that. We want to keep that vitality. We want to keep that freshness, sharpness, and newness. So we have to work a little harder at it, though. Like what comes naturally to a 6-year-old, at my age, I have to work a little harder, you know, to hold on to. And
do you think it's the stress that makes it harder on us? Because I just realized too, my 10-year-olds, when they want to play concentration with me, I think maybe because I'm multitasking mentally and they're totally focused on just the game.
Absolutely. So multitasking, absolutely. That is going to totally, this is where multitasking trips up your brain. There's no way you can play concentration and talk to someone else at the same time when you're at our age. You know, maybe little kids could do it, but we can't. So
well, don't you think sometimes we're going through the to-do list? We don't want to, but I'm immediately thinking after this student, I'm going to have that student, then I'm going to have a Zoom thing, and then what's for dinner? And the 10-year-old can just focus on what.
Back to the mindfulness, exactly. Back to the mindfulness. It's so hard for us to stay present and to stay mindful. When we get older, that's actually something that changes. It does get harder to pay attention to more than one thing at a time. Like when we get older, there's some things that change and some things that don't change. But that is something that changes as we get older. It is harder to pay attention to more than one thing at a time, which is why stop multitasking is a really important part of this. So yes, kids might be able to get away with that. We cannot. I mean, depending on who you are and what you're doing, but usually people find that when they get older, they really, really can't pay attention. So stop multitasking. If we do that, we'll do much better at the games that we're playing if we stop letting all those thoughts go through our head at the same time. It also, this is an interesting fact, when you multitask, it temporarily lowers your IQ by 15 points.
Wow.
Just temporarily. What does that mean? It means that if you're trying to do tasks that really require cognition and thinking, you can't do 3 of those tasks at one time. We need our full, I mean, depending on what you're doing, but if you're really trying to remember what you're reading or prepare a speech, you can't do that while you're talking to someone else. It's just, it doesn't work like that. And then you're gonna say later, well, why did it take me so long? Or why can't I remember what I wrote down or what I read? You can't because you tried to do too many things at once. And like we talked about the other day, in preparation for this interview, it's dangerous. There's a reason that there's a serious fine and points on your license for driving while talking on a cell phone. Now, in different parts of the world, I understand the fine and the points are different. I know what it is here in Israel, and it's quite hefty. It's dangerous. It is when you drive and talk on the cell phone, you're multitasking, right? And your brain cannot do both of those things well at the same time.
But we're just saying, even using the Bluetooth, you know how we were talking about it? Sometimes we think it's handheld, but you were mentioning even using the Bluetooth, can
Yeah.
actually impair your driving?
So it's the equivalent of driving while drunk. When you're on the phone, it's like driving while drunk. Now, it's dangerous to hold the phone, but it's even dangerous. In a lot of places, it's not illegal to use a Bluetooth, but it's still dangerous. Because what's happening when you're on the Bluetooth, you're imagining a conversation. It's a virtual conversation with someone who's somewhere else, right? Your brain is virtually imagining, and therefore it is not focusing on what's in front of you, which is the road. So even a Bluetooth is very dangerous. Now, people often ask me, what's the difference between that and talking to the person sitting next to you? If you're driving and there's someone sitting next to you, what's the difference between having a conversation? And the difference is that person is present. So it's not a virtual conversation. Your brain doesn't have to imagine anything. So someone sitting next to you and talking, you usually can drive and talk at the same time. However, what happens if you get lost or you're not sure whether to turn right or left and someone's talking to you? What happens? What do? You say, wait a minute, I got to figure out where we're going, because you can drive automatically. somewhat we drive automatically. But when you have to stop and think about which direction to go, then you say to the person, wait a minute, stop talking so I can think about which direction I'm taking. Because it just goes to show that our brain can't really think two things at the same time if it requires more focus. Now, yes, I can chew gum and make a recipe at the same time, because chewing gum does not require that much cognition. But if you're on the phone while making a cake, and this has happened to me many times. I've been on the phone with my sisters or sister-in-laws while they're baking, and they say to me, Rena, I can't remember if I put in salt or not. Say, well, yeah, because you're talking to me.
Yeah, exactly.
You need to stop doing two things at once, and people don't like to hear that. They don't like to hear this because they want to be productive. They want to do a lot at once. They want to be able to talk on the phone and make that recipe. But as we get older, we need to stop multitasking and start paying more attention to what we are doing. So is that enough information for today?
Yeah, that's a lot. I really thank you. And do you, you mentioned you had a memory course coming up. You wanted to share about that?
Thank you. So next week, starting on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm going to be doing 4 Facebook Lives. Every day I'm going to be doing Zoom and a Facebook Live. I'm going to put it in both places so people that don't have Facebook can watch this. And I'm going to be giving you a lot of information. And from there, we're going to launch the course. So anyone that is interested in it's going to be a 3-month Memory Matters online course and coaching program. So it's not just a course that you do yourself. I'm going to coach you through this step by step. I'm very good at holding people's hands and assuring them that hopefully they're okay, and that there's so much you can do. We also talk a lot about the strategies and tools to improve to remember names, numbers, and lists of items. And I talk a lot about the other factors, the exercise, the foods. There's so much research on things you can do to they're using the word even now, prevent dementia. Before, we never used to we use the word prevent dementia. But today they're talking about preventing dementia through a lot of lifestyle factors, and I go through all of that as well. So this is a 12-week loaded program, tons of information, but it's fun. We do lots of brain exercises, and I give you the chance to practice it till you get it. I don't just say, here's the technique. We practice it together in the group that we have. So that's a little bit about the course. It's a 12-week. I'm going to do it online. I'm doing it online for the first time. I've taught this live so many times, but it'll be fun to try it online. So next week, though, you can get to hear me more for 4 free Facebook Lives and webinars. How can you reach me? I have a website, renayudkowsky.com. You can go to my website. It's renayudkowsky.com. And there, if you put in your name and address, your email address, you'll get a freebie. And the freebie is how to know whether your memory loss is normal or abnormal. So you know whether you should worry or not worry. Like you can just say, okay, I'm normal, or you can go on to the next step and maybe talk to your doctor about it. So
So can you type this? Yeah, someone just said, can you type it in the chat box, your email address?
And I also have a Facebook group. So it's www.renayudkowsky.com. There you go, renayudkowsky.com. I also have a Facebook group called Memory Matters. It's tips and tricks for midlifers.
Yeah, that's how I found you, the Memory Matters. That's easy to remember because memory matters. So all of us can actually say it out loud. Your memory matters, so contact Rena at Memory Matters.
Perfect. There you go, Karen. You got it. So it's my email is rena@renayudkowsky.com. So rena@renayudkowsky.com. And yeah, join my Facebook group. In my Facebook group, you'll get all that information. So you can either send me an email and then I'll send you the link to sign up for Memory Matters Week. Unfortunately, the link is not ready yet, but I was hoping it would be, but it's not. But you can contact me through my website, my email, or my Facebook group, and I will send you the link to sign up for Memory Matters Week, and you can share it with your friends. And Karen and I will be posting it on our Facebook profiles.
And if anyone forgets, you can always email me, send me a Facebook message, or those of you who know my phone number can text it. And we will get in touch with you.
Yeah, so get in contact with me. I also do one-on-one memory coaching. So if you say, no, I don't want to do a course, or I'm too embarrassed, or I don't want to talk about this too much, but you want my attention, I do one-on-one memory coaching. And that's really fun and empowering and even transformative. And the course is transformative as well. People remember things that they never thought that they could remember. And like I said, it's geared to seniors, midlifers and seniors. So I'm not into the super championship memory stuff. I'm not going to make you remember 100 numbers after pi. I don't think you need that. Maybe the kids want that, but that's not what I do. But I am going to help you remember names of new people you meet, your social security number, someone's phone number, and list of items. They're really fun, easy techniques. I do not teach any technique that is too hard for me to do. I don't teach. And I do not have a super champion membership. However, memory. However, I do have one fun trick, which I will hopefully do next week in my Memory Matters Week. And that is, if you give me any date from the year 2016 through 2020, I can tell you what day of the week it is.
Wow.
Okay, so it's pretty cool. And I can teach you how to do that as well. So hopefully I'll show off that trick next week in Memory Matters Week. And if I could do it, anyone could do it. So that's like the fun brain trick that I do. But other than that, it's what you need to do to function daily. It's how to remember that what you went to the fridge for, where you put your keys, which we started to talk about today, but I do more of it, a lot more of it. And it's fun. It's a fun program, and people see great results. So
well, thank you so much, Rena. I think all of us, yeah, even if we just take the time to be present, I think I've been trying to, like, just even deep breathing and being in the now just totally changes. I mean, I've been doing experiments where I put my eyeglasses in a different place. And I've been telling my daughter, okay, mom is putting her glasses on this Tupperware. But what happened was that someone moved the Tupperware. So when I went to the Tupperware, they're like, Mom, was it on the red Tupperware? I'm like, who moved the Tupperware? But at least we remembered where it was.
I always say these techniques don't help if you have little people in your house moving things.
Exactly. So it has to be like on a dresser or on some place that the dog can't reach, people can't move, and it's,
Right. Okay, let me just see. Did anyone ask any questions? Does anyone have any questions?
Yes, let's try that. Yeah, she's going to try the no tea game. And it was funny because we can give you a city, Rena, without consonants. And it's only in Hawaii. It's my city is Aiea. I went to Aiea High School, and it's A-I-E. It's A-I-E-A. It's the only city that consists of 0 consonants. So
that is
if you ever need to have that game, yeah.
Aiea. That is so cool.
And now you know, in order to say thank you without a T, you can say mahalo. And I know with Lilo and Stitch and The Rock, he's been, that's a big thing that he, taught everyone the mahalo song. So, but thank you so much. We went over, but I appreciate everyone who stayed. I will post this recording, and we will all try to make memory matter in our lives.
Great. Thank you so much, Karen. Thanks everyone for joining.
Okay, take care, guys. Okay,
be well.
bye.